So, what do we do with our Native American ancestry? What do we do about this? So, they want to make it like completely almost impossible for people to be identified or who they are. So, you're going to find yourself lost out somewhere, not only just lost this time out in the desert or wherever you find yourself, out in the middle of bum, where Egypt out there, but then you're also with no past and no history, and pretty much you have to start over from scratch and say, okay, I'm a new person. I'm a new type of species of person, brand new. There hasn't ever been a new species of person like me ever before. So I'm a brand new type of person, or whatever. I could start my own culture. But anyway, so we have um, Native Americans, unless you live on a reservation or with the tribe or marry an Indian bride, or had whatever little bit of history, I'll show you that I can prove for myself. Just looking at one person, my grandfather's mom, his mother, was a very ornery lady who did snuff, and she liked to ride on Harley Davidson. She liked motorcycles. So she was an ornery cuss, and that's kind of needless to say, I guess, but I wanted to point that out. Um, Shows a little bit of her mean streak for the time, and it was 1930 where I'm showing, where I'll show her census. But anyhow, so back to what I'm saying is, unless you are in their circle still, does your DNA from um, Indian heritage fade away? Being being bred out here with everything else that's mixed in our society and everything else that's out here. And I'm not saying that interbreeding is wrong. I haven't ever been against it. I'm against people being against one another's philosophy. Say, like, if a Christian and a Muslim were to marry, um, that's taboo. Or like a Buddhist and uh, I don't know, an atheist marry. I just don't agree with that. I'm against that. Not a black woman marrying a white guy, like the most butt white looking guy you'd ever see, and the most darkest blackish woman you'd ever see. They get married. I don't have a problem with that stuff. That's not what I'm saying. If the two thought differently, that's what I've been led to believe, to form an opinion about people in general or who should or shouldn't be together. So that's my philosophy, and I think it's kind of had enough time on the planet here with people, generations enough to prove that to be true or not, that theory, what works. But anyways, so does the DNA fade if you're not still breeding with Native Americans and then going from one type of tribe to another type? Does that also help exclude DNA? So I'd be showing up if I wanted to go try and get a grant or something like that. Say I wanted to um, go and pursue an education more um, from a university or someplace um, where I can use my Native American background to not get benefits to help me just be a vegetable, but I want to go places. I want to be innovative. I want to help change the world. I want to be on a positive note. I want to go not learn something and totally dive into something that will give me a life trait, something that will help me in my life, not um, sponge on other people. So here we are. family search is where this was, where they gave me the American Census, United Census for 1930, and it's a pretty document to show my full-blooded grandmother, a Cherokee woman. Um, right here is where they lived at the time. It's where she's supposedly from. Her husband, my great-grandfather, John, J.W. Lanham John, is from Texas. Dorothy, they called her Dorothy back then, was one of two. They had a daughter after this in the 30s, another one. So, and he also had another brother. I'm pretty sure because I don't know how else my other family um, people out west ended up from the direct line off the tree that they came from back then, came from JW. So he had to have had another son in order to carry two people off with the Lanham name. Clamber was not his name. His name is Christopher Lanham. He was born in let's say 1926. So he would have been what you would have said probably back then, having a father who was obviously, look at him, he's white, right? And he's white, and then you have a Indian mother. You would have been half white, half Indian. That's how they would have said it back then. And he ended up white. So his name is not Clambert. There's no such thing as Clambert. That's not even a name. His name is Christopher. They were obviously picking on these people. They were picking on them, and that's why Clamber, whatever the hell that crap is right there, ended up on the 1930 census instead of his real name, Christopher. So I just kind of was wondering, kind of ask a question. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just, it sounds like kind of like if you just let it go, you're just going to roll over and then you're going to lose your history, part of your past. So however I came from up to this point, that's a very interesting story. It sounds like to learn more about, and I'm not trying to take anything away from any of my other history. I would love to find and know about all the other people. Sound to me as interesting as being a part Native American. But what are we doing with our heritage and what's going on with our DNA? So they're going to give you it. If you do a test, they're going to basically send it back unless you know what you're doing. You have to either go to a specific place that does Native American DNA tests in particular. You can't just go to the common places to try to do your DNA tests, and that's for specific people. I'm not too sure about Jewish heritage or not. But anyhow, that's all I just really wanted to know. Does your Native American DNA sort of fade off? Because I would like to give a lot of my own credit for being philosophical, for showing a little bit of intelligence and having a high IQ. Basically, I consider myself kind of like borderline genius. Like I just went over the line and just was able to cross over where you would be considered a genius. And I would consider giving great credit to my Native American history. And so am I going to fail the DNA test and not be able to show that? But you can obviously, tell I care about nature. Um, I have specific, whenever it comes down to it, a true um, person, not anybody from any type of race or culture in particular, but a human being that was born ended up being how he is, sort of like destined like a monk. Like monks are firm for peace, and people will work it out and have their um, land and property and not be manipulated by other people, greedy people, the government. The government had manipulated people well enough up to this point to where I can see now every time they knock greediness out of America, it keeps coming back. And I know exactly who's doing it now. It took me a while to catch on, but I know exactly who to point out in government in particular, and say specifically who they are whenever they've avoided the best that they could from being exposed to truly who they really are, their own greedy selves. Um, so all I can say is for me, the reason why I would want to explore this Native American thing even more, just not only just because it's my history, but because I particularly um, act out, let's say naturally, through your blood and your DNA, and your DNA has a certain stamp on it. How the people lived their lives before, you're going to have a certain trait passed on to you through those people. Like I had farmers from Oklahoma. They were all ended up moving west and migrating to California during the Dust Bowl era. So I have a particular hardened feeling towards um, food, not not putting people down. I hate to see people starve or be hungry or go without. I absolutely hate people being toyed with on their own property. Somebody works and gets their own property, and people in life, they are trying to achieve something. If it's anything, it's their own peace of mind. You get that through your own piece of land. But there's a point in time where that was starting to be taxed, so people could lose it on a wide scale. If there's no industry and there's nothing going on, um, what are you're gonna have to submit to something evil in order to keep your land and keep from moving and having to become a migrant. And other people, what they did to the people in Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl was, instead of helping the people keep their property, which was um, I believe was helped by the government, the U.S. government, to cause the chaos, to create the mess. So when they created the mess, and they had a big something to do with that in particular, personally, they um, did a lot of their own on their own to create that problem. The government did. So what happened, instead of them coming in and helping those farmers and those people keep their property, they threaten them with the law and with the authorities, and they bamboozled them. The people that stayed behind and go to California had to figure out how to maintain and survive with no land, living desolate. There's no water for 10 years. It didn't rain for 10 years. So, and then the people, there was a smaller percentage of people that moved to California that were even able to get the employment that was being advertised on a wide scale at the time. So they had maybe 5,000 jobs or something like that, and they would put out 20,000 flyers instead of putting out 5,000 flyers, which also passed through people's hand to hand. So it was actually like probably 2 to 3 times each one passed through another person's hands, another man's hands. So that's about 60,000 or more people that had got the word for 5,000 jobs. They didn't know there was only 5,000 jobs. So 60 to 100,000 people head out west from all different parts of the country, mainly a lot of people from that area, Arkansas and Oklahoma, and places being affected by the Dust Bowl and the weather like that. So, you want to talk about migrants and stuff like that. Um, I just, and I'm not really concerned, like I said, I think whenever the dust settles and everything's said and done at the end of the day, I think people like myself learn how to shake it off. So I'm gonna dust myself off the best that I can, and I'm gonna move forward the best that I can, regardless if people want to give me garbage about who I am or whatever. All the other people, what people do in their time, you know, they want to give me garbage, so be it. But I just wanted to ask do this video and ask those couple of questions. If the DNA really does eventually fade away, is you're gonna breed? Is there any other scientific evidence that we have out there that suggests that even after just like 2 generations, because this was my grandfather's mother, he would have been what they said back then, a half breed, half Indian, half white. So then it would come down to me, and if his mom was full-blooded Native American, what we know today is that the mother's DNA carries more significance to the person's DNA passed on from their ancestry DNA. So my grandfather would have been more Native American than actually that. And my father doesn't. He looks kind of a little bit Irishy, but but his brother, which is full-blooded brother, um, by the same parents, same exact parents, looked like a little Native American Indian dude. I'm serious. He really did. He was dark skinned and had black hair and and dark eyes. Um, black and white picture or whatever. That's all I can really describe of the child at the time. The little boy was my dad's little brother was killed by a drunk driver when he was riding his little tricycle. A drunk guy hit him, and that was back in the day there also, obviously. So you're talking about about close to about right on 60 years ago. So it was a very very long time ago. But that's why we don't have Johnny to show for, but we have other people named Lanham and Visalia and other places. Our cousin John out there, if you go look at him, he's the same exact blood as us. And there's whenever you're like, if I had children, if I had 2 boys, there's a great potential for me to have one with dark hair and will come out honestly looking like uh, a little Indian boy, and then I'll have an Irish boy. That's just how the Lanham's, our Lanham history genes produce children like that. So it's kind of weird. So you're going to kick out basically, um, this. It's the same exact product, same person. It just has a different, unique look to it. I guess each person is unique, just like our fingerprint. So it's pretty interesting stuff to try to think of and try to figure out. But I don't want it to slip away from me, but I'm willing to walk away from it if I have to. And I still don't like greedy people. And I'll still work on. I'll do whatever I can to get rid of greedy people and greediness out of America. Everybody has a right to become successful and become rich and wealthy, but to um, basically not innovate and not keep on um, moving forward. If see when people they kind of get stagnant, they don't have any new ideas or any ways um, uh, to make money, I guess. So they either become a politician or they get in one of these um, type of situation instances where like they're a greedy corporate CEO. It could be in Ford. Ford didn't bankrupt. I know they didn't, but still, it could be there. I could show where I can show you where there's been abuses, there. And like I said again, they didn't bankrupt, so they were doing something right. They weren't being too um, lavish, I guess, with their CEO checks and whatever else they were doing, but Chevy did. See, I don't have a history to be able to report about Chevy in particular. All I know about is Ford. So, what they did in particular. So, I just want to know, not to be off subject, I'm sorry, I apologize. I just trying to figure out this thing and why it matters so much, because it comes down to people getting some kind of royalty or paycheck or something from that I don't know about. If I go and say, hey, I'm a member, and not only that, but I'd like a chance to be able to go and mingle here on your reservation, a reservation where my grandmother was from, where she's buried actually, and go there and and put myself out there as a single guy is what I'm saying. I'm single guy. I want to mingle with the Native American women that they have there on our tribe. So I can keep it more in the family, I guess. That's just, it's not like something I'm really going to pursue or anything like that. It's a suggestion. It sounds like a good idea to me. It's at least worth a try, even if they try to shoot you down, because people are being shot down for some reason, and there's a lot of history here, and they just want to sweep people's history under the rug and change the history. How are you guys doing that? How do you come along all of a sudden and say, oh, well, we decided to change all y'all's people's history because it's insignificant for me to make change, me to make money, and the royalties to go to whoever it goes to. And all I'm honestly trying to do is not take anything from a reservation um, other than something that would give me happiness or joy. Um, and it's not out of greed or anything else. It's just out of what everybody particularly is led to believe is the pursuit of happiness, their own happiness. So I would keep it all kind of contained and related in that sense. So if I prove to whoever they are that I need to, that I'm Native American or have the genealogy and the ancestry in my DNA, what am I trying to achieve? I'm not just trying to get a check so I can just blow it every month or every year or whatever it is. I'm trying to become successful, um, more intelligent, and do what people do to become better members of society. So like if you did get married or whatever, you'd be doing the more responsible things. And that's all I could hope anybody's mind would be on. Not to take advantage of your situation and kind of blow it a little bit, taking it for granted. So that's all I have to say. I'm a person that would not take that stuff for granted at all. I would do something with it. Um, I would make myself successful. Um, yeah, and I like not sure about anybody else, but I do not believe I'm trying to be greedy or anything like that in particular. I was just trying to get to the root of where I was from. Is this gonna make me want to live kind of like, I mean to sound like a smart ass, but is it gonna make me want to build a teepee and live out in the woods? Go hunt deer with a bow and arrow. I'm horrible with the bow and arrow. I'm terrible with one. I probably could get good with it. I just, I have better skills with like throwing knives than I do with the bow and arrow. So, um, I don't know how much all in particular, you know, I'm trying to get to the bottom of my DNA thing in particular, except that there's certain traits that I feel that are Native American in particular that I feel like I have or possess that make me do or feel a certain way or do certain things. Like pick up trash. I might have my place might not be it's not an eyesore at all, but you're gonna find a little bit of garbage out there that I need to pick up, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the land, overall the land. I don't believe in throwing down like a cigarette on the ground, even the smallest bits of trash. I'm just kind of upset whenever I see garbage. So I think that has something to do with being a Native American. So kind of believe and think that has a little bit to do with what I'm trying to say, whatever here. But I don't think that it necessarily makes it go away. And I guess, what we're saying is all people are different one way or another, you know. So I have no idea really right now. It's something that we'll have to work on and get all situated and resolved here here soon. Thanks. I'm doing another video shortly if I can, and it's gonna be on it's gonna be on religion. It's gonna be basically what's going on is there is there was a man killed the other day um, from one of the immigrants, and we wanted to cover it a little bit and give our opinion on it. And we'll be back here shortly. Thanks.